Imagine that it's your friend's birthday. You are at their birthday party and you brought a present for your friend. When you put your present beside all the other wrapped presents, you see some of the other presents look bigger and much more impressive. Suddenly, you feel embarrassed because your own present seems small and cheap in comparison. However, since no one is looking, you decide to write your name on the biggest present so that your friend will think that the bigger present comes from you. That doesn't make sense, right? After all, your friend is going to find out the truth eventually, and then you'll be in even more trouble when the person who really bought the gift finds out. But that's exactly what happens with plagiarism. Plagiarism means pretending that a piece of writing comes from you when it really doesn't. Submitting something that you wrote sometimes feels like giving a gift. You put your time and energy into it. It's something you care about, and you want your reader to have a good opinion of your writing. If we are afraid that our readers won't appreciate what we've written by ourselves, it can be tempting to plagiarize. Good academic writing requires good research, but plagiarizing is not good research. Plagiarism is dishonest and can result in failing grades or even being suspended or expelled from university. You wouldn't want to give or receive a present that explodes in your face, so when it comes to writing, don't try to give someone else's work. Besides just copying and pasting or paying someone to write an essay for you, which are obviously wrong, do you know what plagiarism looks like? Here's the test to see if you can recognize plagiarism. While researching for your topic, you discover some great information. You don't copy it all, but just copy a few small sentences. Is this plagiarism? This is plagiarism, and even just one copied sentence or even one copied phrase without referencing the real author can result in a failing grade. You find some really great research that supports your main idea. You don't copy their words, but you express the same idea using your own words. Since you used your own words, you figure you don't have to reference the source of information. This is also plagiarism. Even if you use your own words, this is still plagiarism. Why? Being a good academic writer also means being a good researcher. And being a good researcher means that you can share what you learned and share how you learned it. After all, if someone discovers gold and they are willing to share their discovery, isn't it important to know who discovered the gold and where and how they discovered it? Or are we just interested in taking the gold for ourselves without really knowing whom to ask, where to go, or how to find it? A good academic writer knows more than just how to find other people's gold. They also know how to find their own gold. You wrote a paper in another class that is related to the paper you are writing now. You copy a few sentences from the paper you wrote before. It must be okay because you're the one who wrote it, right? Wrong. Even if it's something that you personally wrote before, you need to acknowledge where it came from. You write an introduction about a famous event in the news, such as the falling of the Berlin Wall or COVID-19. You don't reference the source of this information because you figure that everyone knows something about this. This depends. Very well-known events like this are considered common knowledge, and so you do not need to cite the information if you are just writing a basic introduction. However, if you do more research on this topic to learn specific details that are not common knowledge, then you must reference the information, even if it comes from a newspaper or Wikipedia or Google or Facebook or wherever. Wherever it came from, you need to cite the source of information you learned. Instead of looking at citing your sources as a way that takes away from your own ideas, think of it as a way to show what a great researcher you are and your ability to find supporting information from a variety of sources. You remember a quote or a special fact you learned from something you read a long time ago, but you can't remember where you found it. You write it anyway, hoping that your teacher won't ask where it came from. Plagiarism. You should be able to document where your information and ideas came from. This doesn't mean you have to throw away that piece of information, though. Do some research to find out where it came from. You never know what else you might learn in the process. You might find something even more valuable in the process. You learn some valuable information as a result of watching the news or hearing someone speak in a conversation or a lesson or an interview. You decide, you don't need to reference this because the information wasn't written down when you found it, and you learned it just from listening. Is this okay? It's not okay. If you learn the information from an interview or a lesson or a conversation or a YouTube video or a show, there are ways to properly reference this information, and you must follow these rules. Again, if you need to track down the information to properly cite the resource, you may find even greater information as well. You are working with a writing tutor or with a friend. You are having some trouble expressing an idea, so your tutor writes a sentence that seems to describe it perfectly. You copy the sentence and put it into your essay. This isn't plagiarism because it's your original idea, right? Wrong. Your tutor wrote this sentence, not you. You should be the author for all the sentences you write. You are being graded on this assignment, not your tutor. Does this mean you should never work with a tutor? No! Tutors are an excellent learning resource. One way to work well with a tutor is to have them ask you leading questions about the topic you are researching and write about. Then, have them help you put your answers together into a great sentence. This way, the answers and information are still yours, and your tutors are doing their job correctly to help you write your own best work. You have been trying really hard to reference all your research and write everything in your own words. But there's one special word from the original source that just seems impossible to replace with a synonym. Is it still plagiarism to use that one word, especially if you give credit to the real author in your paragraph? If you give credit to the author, it's okay. If you don't give credit, it's not okay. Using single quotation marks lets the reader know that the word comes from an original source. You find some great information written in a different language. You translate the meaning and put it into your essay. This is okay because it's all your own words, right? Wrong! You may have chosen the words, but the ideas still come from someone else. You write your essay in another language, and then Google translate it into English. No problem, right? Because the ideas are all yours. There's a problem. The ideas are yours, and the words are not copied from another person, and so technically this is not plagiarism, but reverse translation is dangerous, since translation software still makes lots of grammatical mistakes. Even if the translations were perfect, you are not developing your own skills writing in the target language, which could make it very tough for you during a timed writing test. Reverse translation isn't plagiarism, but it can have lots of other problems all of its own. There are other ways to plagiarize, but the main point, is that if the words or even just the ideas come from someone else, you need to write down where they came from, or else it's plagiarism. What's so bad about plagiarism? Plagiarism is stealing and cheating. You are stealing the words and ideas from someone else when you pretend that you thought of them and wrote them yourself. You are cheating when you submit something that you didn't write, and you are really hurting yourself the most in the end. At the birthday party, when the truth comes out about who really gave the bigger birthday present, not only will you look like a total thief and a fool, but your original present that you had created and thoughtfully prepared will not get the attention and admiration it deserved, wasting all the effort you put into it. When you plagiarize, you are stealing credit for someone else's work, and your own skills as a writer are not improving. And just like a stolen birthday gift that you try to present as your own, you will get caught. But more importantly, plagiarizing is academically dishonest and against the honor code that you promised to follow when you signed your own name before coming to BYU Hawaii. When you give a gift that comes from your heart and requires your own time and effort to produce, it makes you happy presenting that gift. Similarly, you can feel good when you present a piece of writing that is written by yourself and honestly shows all of your research. You will become a better writer and a better scholar.